What is going on, guys? Billy here, the Go Fast Kid on YouTube. Today we are doing an oil change on the Sportster, aka Hooligan, aka the beast here. So it was put away for storage over there in the corner for the winter because it's been 35 degrees and raining every single day for like the last 2 months here and miserable. And today was 40 something and sunny. I think it's like 41 degrees right now. So we just got back from a little rip on this bad boy. But basically I am overdue for an oil change, and I figure I'll get it done now. That way at the beginning of next riding season we can just go ahead and get right to it. We don't have to worry about doing this maintenance in the spring, and then I got fresh oil sitting in the bike over the winter, so it's not you know, got a bunch of dirty oil with a bunch of miles on it just sitting in there getting gross. So that's what we're gonna do for today. So the tools you're gonna need to change your oil on a Sportster, at least in this case, it's a 2006 Sportster 1200, are pretty simple. A flathead screwdriver, and if you use a K&N oil filter like I do, a 17mm socket wrench to remove the oil filter off the bike. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is, what I do at least, is I get the bike warmed up. So I just came back from a ride on this bike, so it's pretty warm as it sits. So it just makes the oil a little thinner. It'll drain a little faster. What I like to do is I take the cap off of the oil, because what you're doing then is you're allowing air to get in here so the oil will drain quicker out the bottom side. But first, probably gonna want something clean to lay that on. So I'll use a little rag here. And we will just go ahead and pull that out of there and set it down there so we don't get any crap on our oil. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look underneath your motorcycle and locate your drain. See this little knob right here? Hold on, let me get my hand in there. Right here, underneath the bike. It's going to be on the rear side, between your rear swing arm and the front of the motorcycle. There's a little plug here, and there's a little clamp, I don't know if you can see it, on that plug. So what you're going to do is you're going to loosen that clamp up, and then you're going to pull the plastic plug out, allowing the oil to drain into your oil pan. To make this a little easier, I'm going to move the pan out of the way until this is ready to get pulled. What I like to do is I loosen the clamp up and I just push it up and out of the way. And then I will just go ahead. Let me scoot you guys over a smidge. And there you go. You can see the oil draining out of the bike. We're gonna go ahead and give that some time to drain, and we will come back when it is full. So the oil I use when I change the oil in my bike typically is this Lucas High Performance motor oil. Usually I use the Harley stuff, but if I can't get a hold of the Harley stuff or don't feel like riding all the way to the dealership, this stuff is really good. A lot of people use it. It is a very popular oil, and it's used in racing and all kinds of stuff, and it is just a good motor oil to use. So that's what I throw in here, and I've never had a problem. It's always been pretty clean. Filters. I use K&N filters. The reason I use these filters is because if you've ever changed oil on anything before, whether it be a car, a truck, a motorcycle, whatever, you know getting your hands on this oil filter and trying to spin this thing off is one of the biggest pains in the freaking butt that you can possibly encounter in a motorcycle anytime you change oil. So what I like about the K&Ns is it's got the little nut on the end of here that you can just twist and it pulls it right off. Makes life super easy. Plus, obviously, K&N's a good brand of oil too, so it's all good stuff there. We're letting that oil drain out right now. As you can see, we're gonna let it drain completely out, and then we're gonna put our little plug back in, and that's when we will change our oil filter itself on the front once all the oil is out of the bike. Alrighty, once you are to this point where all the oil is pretty much drained out of the bike and you just got a little residual drip left, you can go ahead and stick your little cap back into the drain hose here. And be sure not to drop it in the oil like I just did. So once you've dropped this little plug in the motor oil like I just did, get it cleaned off and reinstall it back up here into this hose. You just want to tighten this hose clamp down just enough to where it's snug and that this doesn't fall out. You don't got to get stupid crazy tight on here, because what you'll end up doing is you'll stripping out this little hose clamp, and then you just got a whole big old set of problems all in. You know, it's a pain in the balls. Don't do it. Just snug this down. You'll be good. If it drips, you can always tighten it more. But that's it. So the next step we have here is to go around to the other side, pull our filter off, and put the new filter on. So in my vast experience of changing oil on Harleys and making giant messes in my garage, I've learned that you need to put the drain pan here underneath the filter, because even though you drained all the oil out of the engine before, when we filled this obviously before, there's still oil in this filter, and if you don't put something underneath it, you will end up with a giant pile of crap all over your floor. So put your little drain pan down here, have some rags handy before you pull this oil filter off. So as I said earlier, guys, to remove this, it is a 17mm socket, and we're just gonna go ahead and take this off. Nice and easy. Like I just mentioned, here is all that oil, guys, that comes out of there. So you want to go ahead and let that drain, then go in there and clean that up. I use brake clean. I just spray the engine case down and just get everything nice and cleaned up before I put the new filter in. That way, you know, you start the bike, you're not burning a whole bunch of oil, and it looks like the bike's on fire with all the smoke. So that's what I do. Let that drain out, and then we'll be ready to go ahead and put that new filter in. Alright guys, little side note here. It is super important to make sure that this ring where your oil filter seats is clean, and that you've got a nice clean surface so that that new gasket can adhere to that properly, so you don't have any leaks when you put the new oil filter on. So go ahead and take your rag, whatever you're using, and just kind of clean up that rim before you put the new filter on. So the next step, excuse my beard if it's all crazy, I got grease on my hands, I'm not gonna mess with it. But next step is take your oil filter out, and you see it's got this cellophane kind of wrap on here. What I do is I take my motor oil, and I'll open this up. Real common stuff, just like you change your oil on your car. It's kind of the same process here. And we take our little wrapper off. Okay, nice and clean. And I'll just stick my finger in the oil, tilt it upside down, get some oil on my finger, and just work it around that gasket. Make sure you got a nice light coat of oil. This helps with the seal between the motorcycle and the oil filter. And then what I'll do is I'll take the oil, and I'll put just enough in there so that you got a little coating around the inside of the filter and oil. More so to prime the filter, and then I just kind of roll it around like this in my hand. Now this is the part where the K&N filters come in handy, because as you can see I have oil on my finger, got oil in here, and now I'm rotating it, getting oil on the outside of this. We're going to clean it up when we're done, but this is the part where having the little socket attachment on the end here makes life really easy, because then when I go to put this on, like you're going to see, it makes life real easy. So we're on to the next step. We're going to go ahead and throw this oil filter on. So now guys, we are going to take our K&N oil filter that we primed. It's got a little bit of oil in it, and we are going to go ahead and get it started, thread it onto here. We're just going to get it going like you would install a regular filter. And then once you get it hand snug and your fingers are slipping, this is the beautiful part. Take your 17mm socket, go ahead and hook it onto here. Get it snug to where it starts to fight, like it's pretty tight. And then what I like to do is, like right there's pretty tight, give it another little half turn, that's it. No more than that. If it starts to leak, you can always tighten it up more, but you do not want to strip the threads on the filter or on your motorcycle, because that just becomes a real big problem. So then I like to go into my rag, just kind of give everything a little wipe down, make sure that we don't have any excess oil on the outside of there. And again, we're just going to check our tightness, make sure it's about where I want to be. And it is, that ain't going nowhere. So now we're ready to put more fresh motor oil into the bike and fire it up, let it run for a little bit. So depending on your make and model, you're going to need different quantities of oil. For a Sportster, it's between 2.5 and 3 quarts of oil. So I'm going to go ahead and take my little handy dandy funnel here and set it in the bike. And then we are going to go ahead and put at least 2 full quarts of oil in. And then while we're putting our last half quart in, or you know, between half and 3 quarts, we will just go ahead and check the oil on the bike. That way we don't overfill it. So, excuse me, fumbling around here. Here's our first quart of the Lucas 20W50 high performance oil. And we're just gonna go ahead and fill that up. I love putting fresh oil on a motorcycle, because then you know all the insides are being lubricated and taken care of as they should be. You're gonna have longer engine life, and all around just a little better reliability if you keep up on your maintenance. So there's our first quart. And the second quart. Go ahead and fill that up. Yeah, so I'm doing this now at the end of the season. So like I said before, it's just fresh oil on the bike. Come spring, when I get a nice day, I can just jump on it and go. I don't have to worry about maintenance I missed. And just makes it me feel a little better knowing that it's got fresh oil as it sits over the winter. All right, guys, we're going to take that last quart and we're going to slowly put it in. We're going to check our oil. We're going to slowly put it in. We're going to check the oil, make sure we got the right amount in there, and then it'll be time to fire it up and let it run, let it get warm, and check oil level, make sure we're good, and that's going to be it. Alright guys, we got the fresh oil on the bike, we got the new filter on, we got the plug in the bottom plugged up, tightened down. Now what I like to do is before I start the bike and before we start running that engine, I just like to go through my checklist to make sure our oil level's good, which I just checked. We're going to come on over here, we're going to check out our filter, make sure our filter's good on there, we don't have any looseness or anything like that, because the last thing you want to do is start your bike and be leaking oil right away. That's not a good thing, and you can really hurt a motor and lock up a motor if there's no oil in it. So this is from when we drained it, but you just want to do a visual inspection, make sure everything's tight, make sure everything's ready to go before you fire up the motorcycle, and let it run. So it looks like we're all set. We're gonna go ahead and fire it up and check our oil level once it's warmed up. All right guys, so after checking everything over, it appears as though we are ready for a fire up. Wow, is that how many miles? No way. 13,000. Okay, here we go. So we're gonna go ahead and fire the bike up, let it run, make sure we don't have any leaks, and check our oil again. Now is when you're gonna go through and check your leaks. No leaks down there. Nothing leaking out down here. So we took the old oil out of the bike, we changed our oil filter, we put the new oil filter on, we put new oil on the bike, no leaks, no problems at all, fired back up. Now the bike has fresh oil in it. I change my oil every couple thousand miles, something like that, you know what I mean? Depends how hard I'm riding it. And I mean, like this year I got this bike in August and I did like almost 4,000 miles in just that short period of time. From August to now, it's like November 3rd or 4th something. But at any rate, change oil now. Next season, I'll probably have to change oil a couple times. I already did when I bought the bike. I put a new air filter on it. I did new spark plugs. This is before the channel. And we changed the primary fluid and all that jazz. So it's got all fresh fluids in it. But now we changed the motor oil, so I know it's got fresh oil in it. So next year when it's, you know, spring comes and I can bring the bike out and go ride around, we'll have fresh oil on the bike. We'll be up to date on our service. I'm going to go ahead and clean it, get it detailed, and tuck it back away in the corner for now because this weather is going to be short-lived, unfortunately. We are going to have more rain and cruddy weather to come, so this bike probably won't see a whole lot of action. You can see it's all dusty from sitting, but at least now it's got fresh oil in it. We're gonna get it cleaned up. And don't worry though, we're still gonna be out riding. We're still gonna be out doing stuff. Sneak peek, if you saw that. So we're still gonna be out riding. We're still gonna be out doing adventures and things like that. It's just not so much with this bike because there's a whole lot going on with this bike, and I really don't want to get it all dirty and cruddy and ride it out in the crappy weather, but this one, I don't mind necessarily doing that with. So, that's it, guys. If this video helped you out, if it was helpful as you go to change your oil and maintain your motorcycle, give it a thumbs up. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and thanks for watching, guys.